Hello, 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 loungers. I hope everybody is doing as great as I am today. Listen, guys, I do sincerely apologize for coming late. I did have a couple of things that came up really quick towards the end, right when I was about to start. And I said, oh, shoot, let me just go ahead and let them know I'm coming, but, give me like 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Now that I've got all of that out of the way, I definitely want to go ahead and get started today. I do have two special guests that will be coming in today. The one will be for this particular show here. And if you guys look at the top of the chat, you will see the link to the next show. Okay. So as soon as this show is over, we're going to wrap this up and then we're going to go over to the next show. We may not start that show at 5 o'clock. That show may start a little bit later, depending on how long we take with this show. Okay. But my special guest is aware of that and they will be there. And I'm really looking forward to that conversation as well. Before I actually bring my guest up and have a conversation with my guest, I definitely wanted to go over a couple of things. One of the things I wanted to do was go over the rules once again, because this is a story that we'll be talking about with a victim. And so this, again, is a docuseries. And so we're going to make sure that as part of the docuseries that we're following and established, these established rules, okay? Again, viewer discretion is absolutely advised. Make sure that you are minding the chat and no disrespect will be tolerated whatsoever, okay? Again, disrespect does not mean, somebody who disagrees, right? But coming to purposely disrupt the show, asking weird questions like, what are we doing here? And stuff like that, will definitely get you blocked. Okay. We're just not doing that. At the end of the day, if you don't know what's going on, it's obvious that, you just don't need to know. Okay. At this point, because we're pretty far into this at this point. And I think everybody kind of has established, what's actually going on. Okay. So, we're not going to tolerate that. Mods do have full control of the chat. And again, I want to thank everybody who has reached out and with various information, monetary support, and so forth and so on. As I had wanted to do, I was looking to run the series through August the 3rd. However, the sixth interview that I was going to do, I don't think is necessary. It's not that that person's story isn't important. But at this point, I think we would be beating a dead horse. Okay. I think that we have established quite a bit of evidence against the AFWs at this point. And so I am looking to actually end the series today. Okay. So after my final interview, I am looking to end the series after that. Now, it is possible that if I don't have all of the evidence and the documents in, I very well may do another show either Thursday or Friday. Okay. And that would be to establish, all and every receipt that is possibly needed or any other receipts, because I think there's some additional receipts that another person wanted to send me. So I'm going to wait on that. And I think that I know I'll be done with the interviews today, but I'm thinking that I'm going to go ahead and do one more receipt show, which would be like Thursday or Friday. I'm pushing for Thursday. That way, on Friday, we can have our regularly scheduled programming like we usually do over at the front porch. Okay. So that's what we're looking to do today. Again, guys, all the information that I'm discussing and we're talking about has been verified with tangible evidence and tangible receipts that are available for public viewing. Okay. Again, throughout this particular show and the next show, I won't be highlighting comments due to the documentary nature of this. So I think you guys understand that already. And there is an exception. If there are appropriate questions for the interviewee, I may highlight those, or if the interviewee allows me or asks me to highlight a comment, I might do that. Okay. And then again, we may open the panel at the end of this interview. I'm not sure if that's going to be a thing today based off of the time and the fact that I have two interviews to get out of the way. Okay. So not really sure about that, but it is possible that I will open the panel at the end for at the interviewee's discretion as well as, the time. Okay. So those are the rules. I just wanted to make sure that we went over those again. And let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and say hi to everyone, and then we are going to get into the show. I appreciate all of you for being in the building. Again, keep watch on the link at the top. that link is for the very next show, okay? Because right after this interview is over, we will be going over to the next interview and having that conversation as well. Teresa, I appreciate you being in the building. Redbone, I appreciate you as well. Riz Lyricist, Brixton, KKC, appreciate you being in the building. Charles, I appreciate you. And Brixton, I think I said hi. Okay. Okay, so it looks, and Make a Change, I appreciate you as well. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. I do have some information I'd like to go over with you guys that I would like to establish as evidence against the AFWs prior to me bringing my interviewee up. I'm going to go ahead and have this quick discussion, and then I will be bringing the interviewee up for a conversation. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. So one of the people that really went through quite a bit of problems with the AFWs, and more than likely probably one of the most touched people by the AFWs is Dee Durrell. Okay, now Dee Durrell most definitely went through quite a bit of things with anti, from slander to doxing to all kinds of things. Okay, currently he is dealing with some things behind the scenes regarding her. So I'm not going to tell that part of the story. I do think that Durrell, that would be his story to tell if he chooses to publicly. And so at this point, I'm not going to talk about those things, especially any details in regards to that. However, I do have some information that I would like to establish and put on the docket as evidence against the AFWs and the things that they have done. Shout out to KKC, who actually provided this link to me. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. The video is only 1:32 long, and we're going to get right into this right now.
He's begging to get into Dumpsy's inner circle, but it extends much more further beyond this. KKC trying to dig back how many years and pull up stuff that none of us care about. It's a different time. It's a different place. It has no relevance here and now. He's struggling to try to find somehow, some way he can be relevant to us. He'll get anything he can possibly get. And those enemies are loving it because he's on his belly to them. They conquered him. They broke him down. They forced him onto his belly, and he's obliging by digging out information that none of us care about. We're just letting you know how KK Castaway is. Desperate. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing because you would think someone should be a partial man. He doesn't even meet the grade. You can't meet the grade as a man on your belly to your enemies. He perceives that he'll be able to transpose his feelings onto us and make us feel how he feels: embarrassed, humiliated, defeated, groveling. This is what drove him over to Dumpsy's page.
All right. So I first want to back that up, and we're going to read what is on there, okay? Because I think it's very important to kind of know exactly what Anti was
Thank you,
doing
Vic.
and saying on this email. Okay, because in that particular video, she was talking and she was trying to establish that what KKC was showing to the public regarding his surviving anti-Afro series, which if one of the mods could put a link to KKC's channel in the chat, that way everybody can go over and subscribe to him and check out his playlist of surviving anti-Afro Svengali. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do a series on that too. Yeah, we are going to come back for another video. I'm going to do this on Thursday because I forgot about putting this into today, the Svengali thing. So we're going to talk about that on Thursday. I will be using some information. Shout out to Dr. Nikki Proctor Walden. I do have some information from her, and I have some information myself that I have looked up, and we are going to discuss that. So that will be on Thursday. I think I'm just going to do it Thursday, guys. So we'll do that on Thursday. And then any other evidence or anything that comes from today will also come up on Thursday. And then we will do anybody else that wants to send anything. We'll do that on Thursday as well. And then we'll be completely done with this series as of Thursday. Shout out to the gods for that, okay? Because I'm kind of tired of doing this at this point. But yeah, I really still think it's very important to do. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do was just kind of just talk about this real quick and explain what was being said, because what she tried to do in that video was try to establish that, KKC was crazy for putting out these emails, for putting out this information, for, kind of fighting back against Anti with all the crazy things that she has done to him and many others over the years, okay? What he did was journalize that stuff and put that in a playlist, okay, as we've kind of done here, except with here and with this, we've kind of just gone a little bit further into all of the AFWs, as well as, their minions and anybody, who's kind of out here windmilling for them, okay? So both of those series together are very important, and I think that, you guys should go over and take a look at that. Now, this particular video is from that series, and yeah, she was basically trying to, play on people's mental and mind games and tell them, like, this isn't important to you. You don't have to watch this. This isn't important to us. KKC is just crazy. We're not interested in this. Like, she can speak for everyone else, right? Like, as if she has the ability and the authority to tell everyone else how to feel and how to, how to take things, okay? And that's unfortunate that, she still feels like she can control people like this. But I'm glad that he definitely did let us know about this particular email right here. There was a time when D. Durrell was kind of going back and forth with Anti-Afro and the AFWs, okay? Where, they attempted many, many times to, just kind of engage him into these arguments and into these battles back and forth that really literally started off as D. Durrell being a fan of Umar Johnson, okay? And them, of course, as we all know, being against Umar Johnson, okay? With D. Durrell being one of his biggest supporters over here within the sector, he was kind of like going back and forth with them kind of by himself for quite some time until some other guys came along, like when Flacco stopped dealing with the AFWs, when TCTV came along, and some others, and they all just kind of band together with Durrell to start fighting against the AFWs and some of this stuff that they were doing to Umar Johnson. Some of the things that they were doing to Umar Johnson is contacting specific businesses and stuff like this. If they found out that Umar was going to be there, they would literally follow him all over the country and find out wherever he was going to be. And then they would try to establish with that business a reason to not bring him to the business. So they would lie to them and tell them things like Umar Johnson is a convicted felon. Umar Johnson is a sex abuser. They've said all kinds of stuff just to get these very established places to not allow Umar to be there. Okay. which is why Umar then made that infamous video about finding Anti-Afro and finding Rev G and finding Dr. Clay and some other people. I believe it was Mikasa Africa or somebody, and a couple other people, okay, that he really wanted to establish this with. So ultimately speaking, I'm not going to give you guys a major history on that, but ultimately speaking, Darrell went through a lot of stuff with these people just based off of his beliefs about Umar Johnson and their beliefs on Umar Johnson. Like we've already established kind of through this series, the AFWs tend to be very controlling of what they feel you should watch, what they feel you should agree with, what they feel you should listen to, okay? And it's kind of been like that for years, okay? And if they don't get from you what they want from you, they go to the level of doxing you. They go to the level of doxing your family. They go to the level of making and filing false reports on people. They go to the level of, anything that you can think of, they try it, okay? If they could do, anything that they would, even if it's illegal, they are going to do it and they are going to try it, okay? So ultimately speaking, she had came up with this whole report about Darrell. She had tried to contact his board, his professional, to come for his professional licenses and so forth and so on, just simply because he was an Umar Johnson supporter, okay? Yeah, I get it, right? Like everybody doesn't like Umar, including myself, right? I have no intentions of ever agreeing with most of what Umar Johnson does and says. However, that's my prerogative, right? That's my choice, and that's where I am. Whoever chooses to, donate to this man, whoever chooses to have him at their business and so forth and so on, I don't see anything wrong with that. And I'm not really understanding, why they made such a big deal out of that. Like even for instance, when they contacted, there was a restaurant called Yassa's, okay? Umar was going to this African restaurant, and it was during the pandemic, but they already had, some things established there, so that people can still dine and still see him and everything. They had the things set up kind of outside where people would be able to still come. And AFWs decided that they were not having that. They wanted Yassa's to not allow him to be there. Yassa's ignored them, and just didn't care what they thought. And so they decided to call the city on that restaurant, lie to the city, and tell the city that this particular restaurant was violating COVID violations, okay? And that is what caused an issue with multiple people that were part of the AFWs at the time, okay? One of those people being Flacco, and that is how he turned against Anti-Afro and the AFWs because of this egregious behavior of, contacting these agencies and stuff like that, all because these people were having Umar Johnson at their restaurant, okay? So I just wanted to give you a kind of a background of that before I read this because, again, it's very important to kind of understand the mindset of AAS when she's going against people that just disagree with her talking points, okay? So what she did here in this email is send out an email to multiple people, okay? As you guys can see, there are multiple people that are carbon copied on this email. And it came from Anti-Afro Svengali, proud anti-fraud warrior, right? She said, "Hi, everyone. The attached contains photos of Dempsey Smears, a.k.a. Dempsey Spears, okay, wife, guys, who lives in quote-unquote Louisiana, according to her own declarations. So yes, Dempsey is lying. Also included are links to her business. These lead to her social media pages as well. The Facebook page appears below. It's strongly encouraged that you private message that a private message be initiated if there are any questions." And then she put a link to her new video and a link and multiple links. She put a website and Facebook link there for all of her proud anti-fraud warriors to see. Okay. Now, what I would like to establish about that. No, for the person that messaged me, the link at the top is for the next show. Okay, it's for the next show, for the next interview that I'll be doing. Thank you for telling me, but that is for the very next show. Okay, I put it there so that when we're done with this show, you guys will easily be able to go over and transition to the next show. I apologize. I appreciate you telling me that, but I did put that. I did say that in the beginning. I think you just may not have heard that. But yeah, that's what happened with that link at the top. Okay. So let me go ahead and finish what I was saying here. So this basic, no, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you though. Okay. So basically this person, she wanted to make sure that all of these people that are carbon copied on this email are able to go to Dee Durrell's wife's personal Facebook page, right? And her business pages. For what reason? I don't know. I can't establish at all how this is, even begins to be appropriate for someone to do if you just simply have an issue with what this person believes or what this person thinks, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that, and then also see the pictures that she put as an attachment on here, okay? Now, she has claimed over the years that she has all this stuff to fight Darrell for in court and everything, like, because he called her a couple of B words a couple of times, and she's called him all kinds of vile things as well, right? Even if she wanted to establish some type of lawsuit against him or whatever, how would this be relevant to any of that is what I'm trying to say. How is his wife's business and other people contacting his wife behind the scenes, hitting her by messenger, as she specifically said that it's strongly encouraged that a private message be initiated if there's any questions? What questions would anybody have to his wife regarding his thoughts and his choices as a 40-plus-year-old man and an established man with an established businesses? What reason would anybody have to question his wife on this man? What reason would anybody need to have the name and the link to his wife's business, the links to his wife's Facebook, or her pictures? How is that relevant to anything concerning YouTube, especially concerning the fact that his wife isn't on YouTube? Okay, she doesn't have a YouTube page. She never comes to his shows. She's never on the links. She's never been on a panel, never spoken to her, nothing. What relevance would any of this have to, any of this stuff? So thank you, KKC, for providing that. I just wanted to make sure that you guys definitely knew Darrell's story and what happened to him, and that these are consistent with the receipts that we have already established concerning the AFW. So shout out to you guys for that and just getting an opportunity to look into that real quick, okay? Now, I think it is time now for me to go ahead and bring up our guest. I am going to go ahead and get started with that. Bear with me just one moment. And I'm going to go ahead and play. You know what? Hold on. Hold on, guys. I had her video clip in here, but I think I took it out. So let me go ahead and put that back. I had so many things up here, guys. We didn't know what was what's going on with who and how, but I got it here. So bear with me just a moment. All right, guys. Thank you guys for your patience. I do appreciate everybody. I do see the comments. Let me go through those real quick just to make sure I don't have anything that I should put up. Yes, you said it's not. You said that's harassment. Absolutely, it is very much harassment. And you said in that email, she doxed the wrong person. Exactly. Like, she literally doxed his wife. You know what I mean? And it's like, for what, right? But that's not the only time that she's done something like that in the sector. But again, I just wanted to be sure everybody kind of sees, exactly what we're talking about when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay, so let me go ahead and take a look. I just want to make sure that they were ready. All right, let's go ahead and bring up the first guest for today. Hello to my favorite attorney. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I appreciate being your favorite attorney. I hope I'm not the only attorney you know, because then
You're
you
not.
wouldn't have a choice. I'd be your favorite no matter what.
Right, right. You
Uh,
know how that goes.
and my brothers always say, "You're my favorite sister." And I'm like,
Right.
"Motherfucker,
I'm
I'm
your
your only
only
sister. What the
sister.
fuck?" Yeah.
Oh, hey, how are you today? How are you doing today?
I'm I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Good.
sorry, about the not being able to come on first.
No, 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 you're
I mean, you know
perfectly
what's going
fine.
on,
I
so
had a delay myself, so it was cool.
cool.
But we ended up starting, and then I really wanted to establish it and start with the D Durrells thing anyway. So
Yeah,
that kind of worked out perfectly. So you're perfectly fine.
good.
You're
I
perfect.
actually did want to make a comment about the D thing, about that
Okay,
email.
yeah, I'll bring
A
that
couple
back up real
things.
quick then. Okay, bear with me just a moment. I'll pull it back up.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So, what is the date on that?
It is Tuesday. Hold on, let me look at it real good. I believe it's February 14th, 2021.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't even know if I believe that Palmer's wife was doxxed. I don't know the story behind that. I know I never saw any of her information around here. I don't know if it happened before I got here or if I just didn't, I wasn't in the spaces where it happened. I don't know if anyone can verify that. But I just, my thoughts were, Palmer's always saying that all this got started because his wife was doxxed. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
right.
if I'm just curious, like what happened first, because I wouldn't put it past him to have done it, not told anyone, so they were the person. If indeed Palmer's wife was even doxxed, I don't even know if that's true.
So,
Um,
from what I understand, his wife was never doxxed.
yeah,
He had mentioned they have this tendency to mention things like, for instance, when Reggie mentioned the name of his daughter, right? And
mm,
now he's running around telling everybody that we looked up his daughter's Facebook or some stuff like that.
yeah,
So he's the one that literally said his daughter's name on while he was live, okay? And that's how we got, everybody got his daughter's name. But yeah,
yeah,
so they tend to do stuff like that, and then and then pretend that everybody else did this to them. You know what I mean? When
mm-hmm,
it never went that.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other thing was, in 2020, like about, let's say, end of 2020, so about 2 months before this,
Mm-hmm.
um, or was it 2021? I can't remember. No, I think it was 2021. It was whenever Archibald hit. It was like around that
21.
same time.
That was in 21.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. That was when she sent out her first email to her email list about me, and it was about how I had backstabbed Lennon because I was a mod in his chat, and she had seen me and gotten all these screenshots of me being over in Propane Oaklane's chat, and Flacco was there, and we had a short but cordial conversation. It wasn't anything. Lyndon was, well, I think Lyndon was mentioned, but I think it was just that, I said everybody's human. And, you never meet your heroes because you always will learn that they've done something you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And that email went out about how I should have even been in Propane Oaklane's chat because I'm mod for Lennon. And right around that time that email came out, I got a very negative, uh, but sort of nonsense review on my Google business profile that was from New Jersey and a name I didn't recognize. And then I also had a couple come to my office looking for a swingers party. So apparently, my office
Yeah.
address had been listed on a swingers site that I was hosting a party that night. So they
That's
came
crazy.
looking, and no, that couple, they were young and they were very, I could tell they were not experienced in that life. And they were
Mm-hmm.
so embarrassed. They were so embarrassed. I felt so bad for them.
That
But,
is
everything was cool.
crazy.
Yeah, but, we just happened to be working late that night. And so they came by around 7, and we were like, what? We were so confused. But then, even back then, I was like, because I knew something had gone on because people had asked me, like, are you not, with the AFW and all this stuff? And everybody was treating me kind of weird. I knew something had happened. And so, I was like, hmm. I got a weird review. Everybody's treating me different, asking me if I'm AFW, and people got sent to my office looking for a swingers party. Coincidence? Coincidence? I don't know. I don't know.
Definitely
Coincidence?
not a coinky dink there. Yeah.
And I
They
wonder,
no god.
I wonder if she sent out a same email about me. Like, this is her business review page. This is her office address. Yada yada. Do what you will, because that's kind of how she phrases those emails. With
Hmm.
here's the stuff. Do what you will. Have a good time. And
Right.
it may be one of those quote unquote supporters of her that we don't even know about. That was
Right.
just
We
like,
would never
yeah, let's do
know.
something crazy.
Yeah, we would never know. And it's funny because there's others who used to support her that were like really behind the scenes, right? Like they
Yeah.
don't come out and they're not in the chats, they're not, anywhere. And they used to support her as well. There were some supremacist groups and everything that were dealing with anti behind the scenes. So you never know who was involved with what, right? You never know who did what in some of
Yeah.
these situations. It's just fortunate that we have some people who have been very vocal, and some people who have now become whistleblowers, right, to
Yeah.
the AFWs, and they are putting their information out there, right. But yeah, there's some people that just kind of walked away from her and never returned, right. This never came back, and those will probably be the people with some of those emails and some of those
Mm-hmm.
texts,
Yeah.
just establishing that kind of stuff. Where did you want to begin? Because I have a lot of things that you and I can talk about.
Yeah. I don't. Oh gosh.
Did you want to
Yeah.
go like in order of all this, of
I
what you have here?
um. We could do that, or we could go by topic because it's kind of divided into her being you know
Yeah,
uh sort of silently anti-LGBT, and then also
definitely.
calling me a racist. So those are the two big things that I think are in the stuff I gave you.
Okay, let's start with the first one. Okay, so
Okay.
let me go ahead and share my screen with this. Guys, we're gonna kind of stop and go on these videos. We have some information from Anti herself. And what we're going to do is just kind of give you guys an understanding of how things had been between Anti-Afro, Stefanie Collins, and Let Me See Your Transcript, okay? Because we did establish the other day that she was definitely behind the scenes trying to send out Let Me See Your Transcripts, driver's license, social security numbers, and all this stuff. We've already established that evidence. We are also today going to establish the evidence of how many times, or at least not how many times, but the many a times that Anti has tried to antagonize Let Me See Your Transcript, tried to bring her and pull her into arguments and pull her into all kinds of things, okay? So let me go ahead and present this. We are playing this in fair use, and we are also going to be stopping and commenting as we go along, okay? Because so, that way we can try to make sure that we're not having that problem with Anti. But let me go ahead and put up my fair use banner first. And then we are going to get started on this video because, again, guys, I think it's very important that everybody really does see what was going on. What's the truth about Let Me See Your Transcript and what really happened between her and Anti? Because let Anti tell it, Anti's the victim, and Let Me See Your Transcript is the aggressor, okay? Let's go ahead and see if that's really the case.
Anti-Afro Svengali right to it, people. Yes, this video is about Stefanie Collins, who calls herself a lawyer, and Let Me See Your Handcuffs, who says, I'm your very favorite history teacher. Yes, I'm calling their shit out, and I'm going to tell you why. Before I do that, yes, I received more information about what people were requesting that I post video on. I didn't have enough information.
Now let's go ahead because we got some timestamps here from Anti. So we're going to go ahead and establish those, okay? She wanted to talk first about these YouTube streets, and I want you guys to hear how she was kind of talking about some of these people, okay? And then we'll go from there. Also, we're going to listen to her, the audio of what Let Me See Your Transcript had said about Anti, okay? And then we're going to listen to what she's talking about regarding this life lesson and Stefanie Collins and the things that Stefanie Collins is so is so responsible for. Okay, so you guys kind of got an understanding of what this video is all about. Now let's go
Um,
ahead. I'm
Pre,
sorry.
I could you back it up and just the first frame is actually the thumbnail. If you could show how deranged and disturbing that thumbnail is, I think that's kind of
Yeah,
what
right
is
here.
telling. Yeah.
This is very, very telling right here. And also, yeah, let's talk about this real quick. Let's go into the top where you guys can see that she has snippets of things that Stefanie Collins had said, like in a chat room. Okay. Now, again, this is evidence of somebody who claims that they don't watch certain channels, they're not there. They're so bothered and they're so victimized by these people that are on, as these content creators. But yet she always seems to have screenshots of things that people are saying within the chat room and so forth and so on. So did you want to go over this part right here, or do you want me to go over that?
Um. So let's see. I can't see the.
You can't see it?
No, I got it.
Okay.
So you know, I think it's obvious that she has some sort of weird fixation on you know human excrement. Like it's in a lot of her videos on thumbnails. It's very strange. I just want to point that
Mhm.
out. But
Absolutely.
also, yeah, title of this video is Stephanie Collins. Let me see your handcuffs. Is your property. I am not, and I I am just stymied, really, speechless about that she would even say that. Not about
Say
me.
something like that.
She can hate
Right.
me all day long, but that she would say that about transcripts.
Right.
It's
Like
just really
you're
crossed the line.
literally, like she was literally calling you a slave owner and calling Let Me See Your Transcript an actual slave,
Right.
simply because the two of you are friends, simply because you've tried to help Let Me See Your Transcript while she was being harassed and doxxed by AFWs, right? Um, you were just simply trying to help her in this situation, possibly give her some advice, right? Push her in the right direction, considering that you're an attorney and you practice law in Texas, right? So these are things that you can kind of establish to her and help her understand what direction she might need. Give her some advice on some things, and even just offer to become her attorney, right?
Yeah, and I
And
mean, it wasn't even so, that was part of it, but another part of it was just a lot of us were there for transcripts just to let her know that she's not crazy. Like, she's not imagining this stuff. Like, this is really happening. She doesn't deserve it. And she didn't provoke this. This isn't her fault. We were just there to basically be like a, what would you call it? Like a, hold the mirror up to like, this is, this is not about you. This is not your fault. This has nothing to do with anything you've done.
exactly. Also, here at the bottom, she put a side piece on here saying that what happened between Nikki Proctor Walden and Let Me See Your Transcript. Nikki Proctor Walden hasn't been in Let Me See Your Transcript's demon infused live stream chats in a while. How would she know that if she wasn't always watching and stalking Let Me See Your Transcript and Let Me See Your Transcript's chat room and stalking Nikki, right? Like, how would she know where people are, what people are talking about, and if somebody's in a chat room, if she's not there, right? It's clear from her own words, from her own, establishment of this, that she is definitely stalking this woman. So shout out to Let Me See Your Transcript. We're going to enter this as evidence for you that this woman most definitely is guilty of stalking you everywhere she possibly can. Okay. And Nikki as well. And then she talks about when Let Me See Your Transcripts post Nikki's text messages and emails for pay, the countdown is on. It's like she's basically waiting for those two women to fall out, which to this day, they're still very good friends. But she's been waiting for these two women to fall out so she can find out whatever's going on between them. And there was never a problem between them at all. This is just her and her fanatical ways of going after people who just simply disagree with her. That's it. That's all. There's no crime. They just don't agree with her. So shout out to you for pointing that out. let's go ahead and finish listening in to this weirdo and the things that she had to say.
What people were requesting that I post video on. I didn't have enough information on the situation, so I didn't post it. But apparently there's some mess going on in these YouTube streets. People are scrubbing videos, scrubbing channels, and it has been reported that someone allegedly filed a complaint, another complaint against Binary, and he's running just amok, trying to cover his tracks. Other people are scrubbing videos and taking down videos. Stargate done gone off on Al. I mean, people are throwing all this stuff at me. Why am I interested in this? Because things have come full circle.
Comes full circle for what? Right? Like, what would any of those things that she just mentioned as this upstanding citizen, right, who is above reproach and never does anything wrong and never is a part of any of these demon-filled live streams, right? Why would she care about anything that she literally just mentioned? Let's go ahead and keep going.
In many respects, within a relatively brief period of time, when we talk about these issues, obviously I'm going to address this because this has something to do with me. Even if it didn't, and I found it interesting, I would speak on it.
All right, so
you mad because someone said something about.
Let's move up a little bit.
Stay tuned, and I will return.
What are you doing? That's ridiculous. You mad because someone said something about you, so you gonna send the police to their house?
Now, guys, I want you guys.
That ain't what the fucking police is for.
I want you guys to listen. We're going to listen to that, but I want you guys to see this. This is yet another thumbnail from Anti-Afro Svengali. Okay, this says, "Let me see your handcuffs," which she's always calling her that, even though she's never been arrested for anything. Anti has never taken her to court for anything or any of this stuff, right? Even down to when she was passing around, when Anti was passing around, let me see your transcripts, driver's license information, and social security, full social security number, which I established the other day as actual fact, okay? Even when that was going on, she still has never taken this woman to court or anything along those lines, okay? She says, let me see your handcuffs, harassed, bullied, plus lied on me. Those AAS care about and their families for how long? Let me see your handcuffs even tried to get men who've mega dragged women to subject me to the same treatment on her behalf. Let me see your handcuffs also stole money from AFW LLC, perping as the president. So sit on it and rotate. Let me see your handcuffs. Let me see your handcuffs mistook my silence as a sitting duck for weakness. Well, guess what? I'm not quiet anymore. This audio and pic is from October of 2021. This right here, this picture that Anti created and, took a snippet of let me see your transcript and made the picture into what she wanted to, widened the picture and did all kinds of weird stuff that Anti-Afro likes to do, right? This is full evidence of her trying to literally play with this woman's mind. And I want you guys to hear what Let Me See Your Transcript said about Anti.
He gonna say, oh, because she threatened me. You threaten us all the fucking time. On this goddamn YouTube. When you tell somebody to call the police or to call their job or to report them to their board. You think the shit can't happen to you? You need to stop. Leave me alone, leave us alone. And then you're gonna let me see your handcuffs. When the fuck did I become handcuffs? I'm sorry, I don't like bullies. You are being a big bully. And you're crying wolf, talking about you got threatened. No, you got fucking someone clap back at your goddamn ass. Do you want to say, oh, I'm just defending yourself? Yeah, okay. Someone makes a video about you, you say something back, and then move on. the way, you use any part of my video, you put any more of my followers, and when in my comments on your goddamn thumbnail again, and you use my fucking thumbnail for your thumbnail, I'm striking your goddamn, I'm putting in a copyright complaint on your ass. You understand me? You do not have permission to use my video or my audio or any parts of my thumbnail, any part of my comments or my chat for your damn video. You do not have permission. And if I see it, I'm striking the video. How are you using my words or other people's words or other people part of my video so you can go after somebody? That ain't right. You ain't right. She was just doing it to me. I can say, hey, I'm going to ignore her. When you just out here attacking everybody all willy-nilly and everything, it's like, damn, when are you going to stop? Now I feel like we're all susceptible to be victims because you think we've done some perceived wrong against you. There are people who are still getting videos about them who stopped talking about her. It doesn't matter. I say something about a lot of shit for a very long time. I'm just tired of people. I'm tired of people being attacked. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. But when it's starting to be everybody, hey, so I can carry away. It's starting to be a whole bunch of people. Like, damn, that means anybody is under attack. Anybody in the chat, anybody making a comment, anybody who's a content creator, anybody who's just passing through is subject to harassment by her. And that's just like, wait, that's too much control. That's too much. That's not right. She is literally attacking everybody who has said something about her. Whether it was a video, whether it was on a panel, whether it was in a chat, whether it was a comment on a video. So do you think that's right for her to go after people? Look at all those different types of people. That's why I'm doing this video. If everybody reports her video, report her, whatever her board is, and we can get this to stop. It's ridiculous. Like, dang, you out here attacking people for no reason. And then Binary, I said, hey, Binary, last night in Max Live. I said, hey, Binary. I said, hey, how's school going? He said, oh, it's good, considering that people still calling his job.
Life lesson that was drilled into me and my 7 siblings. And there are Black folks out there who know good and damn well you were told the same thing. And there are other Black folks out there who act like, oh, I don't know.
I want to pause that right there real quick because I want you guys to pay attention to this photo that she used of breaking the culture from years ago, right? Breaking the culture, coming at, putting those fingers up towards let me see your transcript, right? Now, Breakin has a known history of attacking Let Me See Your Transcript because Let Me See Your Transcript and some others from the church sector like Daryl Moore, Marcellus McMillan, and there was another one too. I can't remember her name, Steph. If you remember, you can tell me. But basically, they were going after Larry Reed for the sake of the accusers that have come forth, Levante Andrews, and some others that came forth and said that Larry had sexually abused them when they were younger. Okay, and Breaking the Culture and a couple other people were pretty much fighting against this whole thing. They were trying to fight with Let Me See Your Transcript, making up salacious lies about her, about Daryl Moore and stuff like that, basically to establish to the public that they were these crazies that were going after Larry Reed. Okay, when in actuality, none of that is true. Okay, they were basically whistleblowers and telling the truth. And Daryl Moore had opened up his platform to allow Levante and others to speak on what happened to them. Okay, according to what they're saying happened to them. Okay, so she's using Breaking the Culture to kind of go after Let Me See Your Transcript, which is kind of like proof and establishes a timeline with this of how Breaking the Culture originally came around into this sector and why she was here to begin with. So between that and between the doxing of Glorianne Murray, is why, breaking the culture is in fact was here. What did you want to say about this stuff? Anything? I'm sorry, Steph, can you hear me?
Okay, there it is.
Okay.
I think on the transcript, when you're back on the transcript part of it where she was talking,
Uh-huh.
I think we need to all note there that she repeatedly said, "Leave us alone." She
Yeah.
repeatedly said, "Leave us alone," and that is important legally when you are trying to, if you want to do something legally to make somebody leave you alone, if they're not, you have to ask them first to leave you alone, and she did, and Anti didn't stop.
And to this day, she still hasn't stopped. To this
Right.
day, she is still like putting up video, putting up thumbnails and stuff like this in regards to let me see your transcript, and still using the same words of let me see your handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
She's still doing that to this day. It's nuts. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and go forward a little bit. I don't want to just play her full video. I really
Yeah.
wanted to get to this part right here. So let's go ahead and start with this part.
This is a vestige of slavery. When a slave wanted to leave, something's wrong with them. How dare you want to leave here under my, I'll use your word, Stefanie, subjugation. There's something wrong with you if you don't want to be subjugated by me. And that is Stefanie Collins' mindset, because if she doesn't agree, she runs off and starts talking about Black folks having mental health issues. And you said that about me more than one time, and I've already warned you what I was going to do if you kept this shit up.
Now, here's the question. What the hell is she talking about? Did you want to kind of establish for us what she's talking about here? Stefanie?
I don't know. I don't recall ever saying that anybody couldn't leave my presence. I don't know what she's talking about there. I
have no
also
idea what she's
am
talking
not
about
sure. She didn't, she's the queen of getting screenshots. She follows us around. She gets screenshots of everything, but she didn't put the one up here that said I was subjugating someone or even using that word.
Right.
There was the one that she has up here. The two are one is about a person who me and transcripts knew through another sector who appeared to we had reason to believe, strong reason to believe that he was running a medical GoFundMe scam.
Okay.
And one of the things he said is that he had come down with sickle cell anemia, and
He came down with it?
yeah, yeah. See, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Right.
Let's see if that's a thing, right?
You're
I didn't know.
born.
I thought you were born with
Born
this,
with
but
it.
okay. Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah. And so
That's
that was one of the
that's
ones
not
that was
something
like,
you
yeah,
catch, right?
and that's what I said he should have Googled that first, because
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, we don't need to say anything more about that. It's ridiculous on its face. And
Now
so
I'd like.
she
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, and so she's taking issue with me saying something that is correct about a Black person. He is admittedly Black, and but he was commenting on his his justifications for wanting money for GoFundMe because he was having all these health problems. And she's an anti-fraud lawyer, but she's mad at me for noting that at least one of these statements is not correct about his his health troubles.
Okay.
So
Now,
yeah,
now, did she get that comment from Let Me See Your Transcripts chat room?
yes,
Okay. So both of these comments at the top here that she has for you are from Let Me See Your Transcripts actual chat room.
yes,
When you guys were discussing this obvious scammer who was telling people that he needed to establish a medical GoFundMe because he came down with sickle cell. Yeah, I can. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure first that those two chats are from there. The reason why I'm asking that is because, okay, this is established evidence that let me see your that not let me see your transcript, that Anti will go to people's chat rooms, take screenshots of a chat, and then make whatever that person said into whatever narrative she wants to make. Okay, so clearly she was having a well-established and in-depth conversation amongst Let Me See Your Transcript and her audience of people But she decided to take what one comment or two comments that Stephanie Collins said in that chat room regarding that particular message and turned around and made it into about slavery and about black people being owned by white people, and how this woman wants to make let me see her transcripts her property, and she's just nuts. Yeah, she's nuts. I think anybody would think this is nutty, right? I mean, am I wrong here?
And again, she drew this sort of allegory to with the the criminals who would who enslaved Africans who were stolen from Africa. When those criminals would want to, when the enslaved person would ask for their freedom, they'd say, "Well, something's wrong with you." So she's making some sort of weird allusion, allegory to me saying that the man who was doing the scam, that something was mentally wrong with him because he lied about coming down with sickle cell, which is a lie. I mean, that's just a lie. Categorically, that's a lie. He did not come down with sickle cell. That's categorically untrue.
Right.
And so, but me putting that out makes me like the old time South. I mean, I don't. It's hard to even make the connection, but I think that's what she's trying to say.
Okay. So so with this right here, I want to like stop here for a second so we can establish when you started to notice some issue with AAS to begin with, right? Like obviously she didn't just wake up one day and start taking screenshots of things you were saying in a chat and then start putting this stuff in here, right? Like I'd like to know that. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was watching AAS before I even started participating in any chats or anything. So when I came to the sector, I already knew something was going on there. I had watched a lot of her videos trying to figure out what was going on with Umar because I had heard that his degrees were not like he was saying something inaccurate about his degrees. So I started looking into that, and I found AAS, and I watched some of her videos, and then I started thinking like something ain't right here, right? Like something ain't right because she's making video after video after video about the same thing and she's calling them updates. I found that very concerning. And then I also found it strange that she was calling the buildings where he wants to put FDMG abandoned bomb shelters. I couldn't figure that out. I actually like ran that down to see if they ever had been bomb shelters because I didn't quite understand why she was calling them bomb shelters, right?
No, they used to be. I know exactly where the school is. I've been there before to the school to show you guys. They're not even close to anything like a bomb shelter. As a matter of fact, it used to be another school prior to that. And that's when they were actually built. So go ahead though.
Yeah, and so I was already kind of like, ugh. So I kind of put her aside and just noted in my head like something right with that woman, and then I moved on to Lennon, and that was the first chat I was ever in was Lennon Honors, and from there it kind of went to Max V and KKC and all that. I would see her in chats, and there was something going on. I mean, I didn't have any interest in knowing her, but for whatever reason, that was reciprocated from the beginning. Like things were always strange between us. Like it was tense. I don't know if she was upset that I never said hi to her. I don't know what was going on from the very beginning, but it was like the way I describe it is like those old Hollywood movies where like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford would like see each other across the room and their eyes would get all big and like they would be glaring at each other, like classic Hollywood Hollywood moment where two women are glaring at each other across the room, right? That's how it felt. That there was just something there. And the first time we ever like started even kind of talking about each other but not towards each other was a comment that she made about how Umar could never build equity in the buildings because they're abandoned bomb shelters. And I said, to the chat in general, he's at 100% equity because he paid for them in cash. And that kind of made things escalate from there because she did not like, from what I could tell, she did not like me correcting her on that issue. And then the next thing I knew was that something had gone on. I suspected it was her because around this, well, No, let me back up. When Archibald hit, I was just flabbergasted at the whole Archibald lawsuit. I couldn't understand why she wanted us to take this so seriously. And I also argued that her whole idea and the whole thing she was putting out here in the sector about how that was going to get him indicted was just patently incorrect. Like that, a civil suit does not go to the DOJ. It does not go to the judge. They don't ask for more investigation on a civil suit. The only time I've ever heard a civil suit giving rise to a criminal investigation was in the recent civil suit against Diddy. Right? That's the only time I've ever heard of that. And she's out here saying,
well,
like,
that's because
it's because
no,
of Diddy.
go ahead. Right. It's Diddy,
but,
right? He has so many. There is possible like M words on him and stuff like that. Like right now, they're looking at him for the M word of Tupac, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, even with the civil stuff that's going on, he very well may face some serious criminal charges, and it's because the charges that they're looking to put on him don't have a statute of limitations. So okay,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, and so I was trying to explain to people that a civil suit is brought by two parties. It never gets forwarded to the DOJ. The judge, it never actually goes to the judge's desk for him to approve it for being filed. And she was out here spreading a lot of misinformation about Archibald. There's a lot of misinformation. And I was trying to, not in particular argue with her, but just tell people, like, your expectations about what this is going to do are very, very unrealistic. Like, this is not going to happen. Nothing in here gives rise to anything that could get him indicted, one. And two, like, this is not written in such a way that it's even going to be able to proceed. Like, this is dead in the water because it's not done right. And it just can't go forward. And, most people, like, argued with me, but it was civil, right? It was cordial, and we never got into it. But Anti, just like she didn't, she wasn't happy when Mac criticized that lawsuit. She was not happy with me either. And that was kind of the thing that was, I think, she'd had enough with me at that point, and it was war. And before I even knew about the emails, because the emails about me got leaked by Gloriana to Smoke, and that's all public. It was on a live. So Gloriana gave emails to Smoke where she had been coming at me for a good couple of months. That was in like January of 2022. So those emails about like me being around propane were from like October, November of 2021. So just a few months earlier, around the same time as Archibald. And that's when she started saying that I was she started putting lawyer in quotation marks, to imply that either
you're not really a lawyer,
either I'm not really a lawyer or I shouldn't be,
right.
And so she really took issue with me being a lawyer. She doesn't like that. She wants to be the lawyer in the sector. She wants to be able to tell people what the law is in the sector. And any sort of challenge to that in particular seems to make her really, really, really frustrated.
Yeah, I actually want to go over. I'm glad you mentioned that, Archibald, because I put that down to talk about on Thursday. I'm going to actually go over that Archibald lawsuit.
Cool.
And the reason why is because I need to establish to the public AAS's connection to that lawsuit. She keeps claiming that she had nothing to do with it. She didn't know anything about it. But I'm going to prove to you guys that she did. And even the fact that just simply there was things that she should not have known that she did know before it was even on Pacer. Okay. And I'm going to prove all of that. I'm going to show you guys that. I actually did a video on that around the time when the lawsuit was dismissed. And so I will bring that up again. But you weren't the only person that she did that to. Make a Change, who's also in the chat right now, she did the same thing to him.
Yep.
When he took that lawsuit to a cousin, I believe it was, Make a Change, you can let me know if I'm incorrect on that. But I believe you gave the lawsuit to a cousin so that they can look over this. And the cousin laughed at it, right? Just like, this person's a lawyer, like you're a lawyer, right? And they literally laughed at this lawsuit and was like, this is bogus, right? This is crazy. And
Yeah.
when Make a Change made a video about it, just kind of, pointing out all the things that were wrong with this lawsuit. And yeah, Anti went ham and ballistic on this man
Yeah.
because he simply gave pushback to a lawsuit that, number one, she claimed wasn't her lawsuit, right? She claimed she had nothing to do with it, but he was just simply just saying how stupid this lawsuit was. And she got all bent out of shape over that, right?
Yeah.
Including with you as well. So yeah, okay. So
And,
that's
and she started making like she wouldn't put my name in them, but she made a video about me being a backstabber. It was obviously about me. Um, she made a video about how I'm not. She didn't mention my name, but it was something to the effect of I'm not a very good lawyer, and I'm gonna find out how bad of a lawyer I am when Archibald is successful. Yeah, I mean that video is no longer up, and it wouldn't have aged very well if it was because Archibald was not successful, and it was quite a disaster actually for her. I mean, I think Archibald led to her downfall in the sector. I think we are where we are because of Archibald.
I agree. Also, she got sued by the infamous Catherine Brown because that lawsuit didn't go through. She had promised multiple people, from Catherine to many other people, that were some of these supremacist groups that were behind her and stuff that were trying to attack Umar. She had promised a lot of people that this was going to be the thing that drives it home, that's going to get Umar in jail, that's going to make sure that he gets indicted. And she obviously she couldn't pull it off because everything she put in there was salacious. Everything she put in there were lies and just a bunch of sliced and diced stuff put together, right? And she was, people were angry at her over that. Catherine Brown felt like because she had went down in the trenches and argued with people that were on the side of D. Durrell and on the good guy side, like myself and TCTV and some other people. She felt like she had been set up by Anti-Afro, right? And that is why she sued Anti-Afro Svengali. Okay, that is also why, for people like Aaron, who came into the chat the other day and tried to tell us that we were all touched with this federal lawsuit, that is the reason why Catherine Brown never had me or any people that she was claiming she wanted to fight. She never had us actually served by anybody because she never really wanted to actually serve any of us. Okay, she wanted to make sure that she went after Anti-Afro Svengali and after Rev G. That was what they want. That's what she wanted to establish. I've never lived in Philadelphia, and my last name is not Wright, so that is not me. As far as Flacco, he does not live at that location either. And as far as Jonte, he doesn't live at that location either. As a matter of fact, he lives clear across the country. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure, why, people are running around like, ooh, there's a lawsuit against them. Ooh, you lost and you didn't, you got a judgment and all this. It's like, no, I didn't. Okay. Reading is fundamental. It really is. And no, we did not. So, but go ahead. Go ahead. Did you have anything else to say before I start up?
Yeah, she's a terrible, unqualified YouTube lawyer. I mean, like I said yesterday, she's the worst YouTube lawyer I've ever seen. YouTube needs to cancel her YouTube bar card. She needs to cut it up into pieces and send it back to YouTube. It's ridiculous how bad she is at YouTube lawyering, and it's just terrible. And I do want to say, shout out to Shakim, because Shakim had the same assessment of the lawsuit as I did. That there was problems with the jurisdiction itself. There was problems because they never even really pled a claim that could be heard. There was no there, right? And you have to get past that barrier to even be able to be successful in any way. I mean, it has to get past. That's like the first hurdle, right? Exactly. And that was a big gap in that lawsuit. That was just a big hole. And Sean Kim said that too, and it was in Taz's chat. And Sean Kim was in there and said, "There's problems with the jurisdiction here." And I said, "I agree." And Taz went after him, like, I mean, just It was just ferocious and unbased. There was no reason for it, and drove Shaquem him out of there. I think they even blocked him. So, and at the same time, she was telling all these people that it was going to be successful. Umar was going to go to jail, all this stuff, and after a while, I gave up on trying to tell people that there were fundamental legal problems with this. That it wasn't just the fact that it looked like a comic book. Like there was actual legal deficits. They could not get past like the first stages of litigation. And
Exactly.
it was really kind of discouraging that yeah, I was getting it thrown back in my face that, well, the judge likes the lawsuit. The judge hasn't seen this thing. It got filed by the clerk. Like, just because it has a stamp on it, you think the judge has seen it?
Right.
Who's telling you that? Anti, and it just it was so like, what am okay, I'm done. Like y'all, cool. Umar's gonna go to prison for life. I'm not a lawyer. Like, everybody's gonna get puppy dogs and ice cream when Umar goes to prison, and we're all gonna have a good time. Like, whatever. And then
Right.
finally, people started actually like, I think it was Smoke's chat kind of got that rolling where people actually started to say like, yeah, I've got questions about this lawsuit too, and that made her mad too, and that's part of the reason why she went after Smoke. That's part of the reason why Glorion leaked those emails about me, and after that, it was just like the Hindenburg crashing. It's like the dominoes were just falling. They were falling faster and faster and faster, and that's when it was kind of like the break of between her and the sector. Like that's when she kind of fell off her throne, I think.
Literally, that's what happened. When that Archibald lawsuit fell through, and that's when the emails started to leak,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's when all the information started coming out.
Yep.
When Pill started showing her emails, when Smoke started showing emails, when Glorion started showing the emails and stuff, because at this point they were already shaky about even dealing with her, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
behind the lawsuit itself. The lawsuit itself literally blew anti-Afro out of the dark, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it showed everybody what's really going on in this woman's head, right? Like what's kind of happening with her, and that clearly something is wrong, that she's clearly sick somewhere. These are things that really establish that. I'm going to show you guys that too. I'm going to show you guys how fanatical she was about this lawsuit, even though she claimed she didn't have anything to do with it. But yet she had play by play of everything that was going on with that lawsuit, even before it was on Pacer. Okay. Like she knew everything going on, what was going to happen, what was this, what was that, what was going to be said, all this stuff before the lawsuit was even available to the public. Okay. Before like certain documents and stuff were even available publicly. So that's how we know, that Anti was 100% behind that lawsuit. And once that lawsuit fell through, because of course the courts were not going to pick up this crap, right? That's literally when a lot of people they left that camp. They were done with Anti, particularly those white supremacist groups and stuff that were behind her, that were helping with the money that the AFWs used to send out to content creators for talking about Umar Johnson. There was an actual fund for that. Okay, where if you talk about Umar Johnson on your channel, then they would make sure that you get subscribers. They would make sure that you get payments. You would get super chats. There was like a package deal to be talking about Umar Johnson, and some of these larger white supremacist groups that were behind her were actually funding this stuff. Okay, so and there is established evidence of that. So yeah. But anyway, did you want to say any final thoughts before I go ahead and move on with a little bit more into this video, or did you want to finish with this one and go to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some. I think we covered everything she's going to say in this video. She goes into how I allegedly, backstabbed Lennon and Lennon on her, and that was only because I was in Propane's chat. So yeah, actually, I think the a really one that we should probably go over. I think just for time's sake, is the next one. I think should be that one about like the last one I sent you, the one about the
Okay.
plantation decorations.
The plantation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm opening that one now. Bear with me just a moment. Um, okay, I wanted to make sure she wasn't playing any music because you know how they be doing that. She be doing that. So let me go ahead and present this one for you. Bear with me just a moment. This woman is nuts, man. I said it. I don't have to be I don't have to be a psychiatrist to say that. Okay, we're gonna play this one.
If at first we could just take note of the thumbnail again,
Okay.
how she
She
would
says,
even fix her mouth to call anyone in this sector a plantation decoration. I don't even like saying that. Like, what kind of sick, deranged mind would call somebody that?
right. It
And I'm
says,
not even
stop
talking. I
taking
mean,
your
she could
privileged
call me
liberty
anything she wants to
from us.
call me.
Put
Yeah,
respect on our status or take a hike. So this is the lady who's saying this, but yet she allows this. Let's play this one.
These nigger bitches is full of fucking shit, and you niggers that was trying to come in the fucking sector and trying to just diminish my greatness. Fuck all of y'all. Now, shout out to the high class blacks that are not niggers. We got some high class blacks and some others that's in the sector that do not, I would never call them that because they don't act like that. We got people in here that love both sides. So my thing is that when y'all come in here acting like niggers and niggas and niggerettes, I'm gonna call y'all out on it. At the planetarium, I would not no longer do that at Binary Show because he does not teach.
So we can never forget, that anti has no problem for, people, not respecting us and, just talking about our blackness and, and disparaging us as black people. She has no problems with that. So what the hell is she talking about here? That it's just amazing to me how, this woman just tends to, go back and forth and, and play these mental mind games with people as if just a couple months ago, she wasn't perfectly fine with being called the N-word. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's play a little bit of this video.
Oh, people, this conversation is past due. I've been talking
past
about it
due.
with some anti fraud warriors, and yes, now is the time to come right out and deal with something. That has been brewing. You see the title of the video. I know people get all excited when they hear or see the terms ADOS. And for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to refer mainly to those who are not of African descent.
I'm gonna
Or
play it a little bit faster. Hold on one second,
white
guys.
people.
Let me see if I can make it a little bit quicker. Can't you turn up the time or like make it go faster or some shit? I forgot how to do that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I think she plays Al Sharpton's speech, but the stuff where she starts saying things that don't make any sense, it's like, let's see.
It's like, girl, if you don't, okay, let's see here. Let's do
Okay, so
1.5.
she starts talking about how I'm an unethical lawyer at like the 8-minute mark.
Okay, I was gonna say she does have she has this time stamped. Okay,
Oh, good.
so
Oh, good. That's so helpful.
you says 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's play it from there. I don't want to play her full video. I ain't gonna lie
Yeah.
to you. Shout out to her and her lawyer not being able to get those copyright strikes on me. But yeah, They have definitely removed those strikes, guys. So we are in the clear.
License renewed, you're reaffirming this. You have all these regulations you're supposed to be operating under that are for equality and ethical behavior. You don't get to come onto YouTube and act like everybody else. You are not able to do that. That is unethical. So that is the distinction. People can say all day long, well, you're a therapist, and this point out something that I have done to somebody that is unethical. I can come up here and give free, strong, vociferous opinions about any issue. I have never attacked anybody based on a protected class issue. I have never, ever, the whole.
What? Wait a minute. What? She has definitely come out here and talked about Shakim's sexual orientation, right? She has come out here and talked about Shakim's medical status, right? There's a lot of things that she has talked about people that are of a protected class. She has talked about people's veterans, right? And whether or not they actually have a good veteran background, right? And whether or not they are like one person she said was a stolen valor, right? There's so many things that Anti has done to protected classes. It's not even funny. She had talked about Carrie's disability, right? There's so many things that this woman as a therapist has done. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Did you have anything to say about that, Steph?
So this video itself is a sort of how would you say? I'll put it this way: it's a low key attack on a status that a trait that enjoys protection. Because in this video, she essentially says that because I'm gay, I think I have the right to wave my flag in this space, maybe the rainbow flag. I can wave my flag in this space. Those are her words exactly. And then turn around, and because I'm gay, I think I can attack Black people.
Which is nuts. Like, where would she even get that from?
And I mean, essentially, low key, she is bringing up a protected trait of mine to attack me. So I wouldn't go as far as to say that she's never attacked anyone that's in a protected class, which she has that whole idea of a protected class wrong. Again, wrong about everything legally. But it's not the person that's protected, it's the trait. So just like I can't be, under a lot of circumstances, attacked solely because I'm gay, I can't attack you solely because you're straight. So that's one thing. But like she saying that I'm using my sexuality to protect myself against criticism that I'm a racist, I don't see how that's not an attack on a protected trait of mine. It's a comment on my sexuality. It just is.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I don't know if you wanted me to finish playing this video.
She says some stuff in here about how, like, I think she already said it, about how I can't say anything I want to, but because I'm an attorney. That's actually not true. I'm definitely not as regulated, as heavy as she thinks I am or wants me to be. I'm not.
As none of us are, right? Yeah. You can see how she tries to regulate people who just simply speak out against her. And,
right.
She tries to put these made up laws and made up regulations and establish it with your job and connect it to your job somehow, and that somehow it gives her a reason to file salacious reports against people and, contact the police and contact CPS and all these other weird things that she likes to do simply because you speak out against her, But yeah, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
She also goes on to say that she's never done anything unethical. She's never violated any of the rules, ethical rules governing her profession. I've actually looked into that. She may be right. I don't know that any of the enumerated rules that govern her specifically, I don't know that she's violated any of them, particularly because we're not clients. But right. I would say, and I'm thinking about investigating this further, I don't know why I haven't already, but I would say that I think it's quite possible that displaying behavior that could lead one to believe that her ability to care for people properly has been compromised in some way may very well be unethical if she continues to practice knowing that she may be compromised in her ability to do so. And I think these videos are evidence that she may be very well compromised in her ability to do her job correctly.
Absolutely. Also, the part that Make a Change just said of getting people's medical information sent to her and not reporting that is unethical as well. And that certainly would be grounds for her license to be removed. The fact that she has received known emails, right? She claims from her own words, from her own page, right? She claims that she's known since at least 2020 that this person has been pulling people's information, not necessarily from the Social Security Administration, but for wherever else she was working, right? Not only her, but also Breaking the Culture has been pulling people's information and handing that information to anti-Afro Svengali, aka Andrea Stewart, in Andrea's own words, right? And she's known about this for years and never did anything, even though she is a mandated reporter of violations of HIPAA laws. So I think that is definitely, something that can be looked into and even, investigated a little bit further. So I agree with you on that. Let me go ahead
if I just can finish out,
Sure,
she
yeah.
goes on to say that basically the reason she made this video is because I had used the word. We were speaking about her in a chat. I can't remember what chat it was, and we were speaking about how her behavior is getting more and more deranged. Her videos are making less sense than they ever have, which says a lot, and how she is doing things to people that are sick and twisted. This was 2 years ago, and 2. Yeah, it's 2 because it was like spring of 2022. It was right when this video dropped.
Mm.
And I said something about her. I said she was decompensating, and as a and being like, let's see how to explain this. It's a way of saying that she's losing her ability to do things competently. Like her videos are no longer competent, is what I was trying to say, because she is no longer of a mindset to be able to explain things well, to be able to make a point, to argue anything. It's just become deranged attacks at this point. So I use the word decompensating as in she's losing her ability to do anything from a competent point of view with a competent mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a term that we use in the legal context to say that someone who was at some point competent to stand trial, meaning they knew what they were doing, they understood the process, has now lost that ability. I absolutely used that word on purpose. I absolutely did. I didn't mean it in the legal sense, obviously, because she has not been held to be competent or incompetent to stand trial. Obviously, I was not meaning it in that context. She goes on to say that I gave her a mental health diagnosis. Therefore, I am a racist, and I am in this space to do these things that are described in her title of this video. So that is the basis of her claims that I've been racist against her, are basically that I said that her mental health status is questionable. And I think that is a general opinion that anyone, even untrained people, can say. We can look at someone and say their mental health, that they're suffering mentally. We could definitely do that. You don't have to be trained to be able to say that.
Yeah, that's actually an opinion. That's not a diagnosis, right?
Nope.
I would diagnose you if I'm saying you have bipolar disorder with, along with,
right.
What do they have? Let me think of one. So you are showing me signs that you have bipolar disorder with major depression, and you have schizoaffective disorder. You're showing, me that you have, that would be an actual diagnosis, right?
Right.
Me telling you crazy is not a diagnosis. Me telling you you're out of your mind is not a diagnosis. Me telling you are nuts, okay? You've lost your marbles, right? Shout out to defrauding. You've lost your marbles, these kinds of things. You're a liar, that stuff. That's not a diagnosis, right? But if I said she definitely has schizoaffective disorder, or she had, if I'm giving you an actual term, right, and putting that with you, like, or if I'm saying you're a I could even say something like you're a narcissist, right? That could be considered a diagnosis. However, that would only be a diagnosis if it was coming from another established therapist, right? Or another
Right.
established psychiatrist, somebody along those lines. Then a person like that might be held, to a little bit more fire than a person like me. People use narcissists all the time out of context. You know what I mean? They say that word
Mm-hmm.
all the time. However, that is an actual diagnosis, right? So you're going to be careful when you say certain things,
Right.
but it would be really hard to establish that you have tried to diagnose this person with something
Absolutely.
if I don't even have the credentials to do that, right? Like, that would be pretty difficult to say. So,
And it's funny because that's not even a diagnosis. That's a legal term. Just like
it is.
insanity. Insanity is not a diagnosis, it's a legal term. And
Exactly.
so I did not render a diagnosis on her. What I was saying is that she's losing her ability to communicate with us properly. If she ever even had it, she is losing it by the minute. And I
Right.
think we have seen that go even further. She's no
Yeah, I
longer
think that's
competent
gotten
to make
worse.
any kind of videos.
Right. I think that's
And
gotten worse
so,
in 2 years. Yeah.
yeah, she's got worse, exactly. And so I think, like, to kind of land the plane and bring it all home, um, she as a therapist, I've read the rules that govern California behavioral science professionals and marriage and family therapists, and she has a duty to monitor herself to see if she's able to continue to do her job. If she cannot assess that herself that way, she it's a danger. If she's no longer able to make that assessment, that's unethical. If she
Right.
if she is able to make that assessment and she finds that she is not, for mental health conditions, something else has compromised her ability to think logically, to be able to care for her patients. If her uh, if her ability to think and reason and judge situations correctly, and have some sort of like ability eh, to perceive what is right and wrong in a situation, regardless if that's in a therapeutic context, if her ability to weigh those factors in any given situation in life have been compromised, I would argue, and I think I have the basis in the rules, that she needs to report herself to the board if she arrives at that conclusion about herself. If she can't arrive at that conclusion about herself, I think that's also a reason for her to be reported, because if she can't make that assessment about herself, she's a danger. So either way, if she can't make the assessment,
Absolutely.
I would say that these videos, should show you that you are no longer in a position not only to be able to care for people, but to be able to judge what is good and what is bad in a situation, what I should do and what I shouldn't do in my own life. If you can't come to that decision well, you should not be practicing it. That is an ethical violation of your rules specifically. Now, when
Exactly.
we saw transcripts in the last video saying that asking Anti to stop it, just telling her to stop it, leave me alone. Now, if you are not deranged, if you are not waging psychological warfare on someone, if you are not out to make someone miserable, the reasonable thing that most people would do is leave the person alone once they've said, leave me alone. Now, if you do not do that, I think your ability to make ethical decisions in and outside the therapeutic context has been compromised. I don't think that you are practicing in general ethically, because I don't think you're able to make any kind of rational determinations about your own behavior at this point. So I don't think
Yeah.
that you are. I do think that you are specifically doing unethical things at this point,
Yeah.
regardless of her
I really
clients or not.
do.
I think she is covering herself by saying, I can treat them bad because they're not clients. That is a irrational, illogical, unhinged conclusion. I can treat other people however I want as long as they're not my clients. Are you serious?
Like, I can dox their family members. I can dox their medical records. I can dox their driver's license and their social security number because they're not my clients, is what she's saying. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
how
nuts.
she's covering herself. And
Yeah.
if you're
And
even
until they
interpreting your
realize
own
that
rules
she's
that
been
way,
in violation.
yeah. And if you're even interpreting your own rules that way, I think that's evidence that you're no longer competent to be a therapist. You can't weigh
Exactly.
situations critically. I don't see how you can make the argument that you could.
Exactly. I mean, we're putting the mirror to her face with this series, to show her why, there will be some more reports coming out about her, right? Why there will be some more things going, after her with the California board, right? Because it's clear that she is obviously a danger to society, with the falsifying of documents, with the lies, the clear lies, right? And with the psychological games and psychological warfare that she plays against people. If she would do this in her private life, imagine what she's doing with her clients. I can only imagine.
I just
And
think
then
her,
she also has a history of some things as well that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But go ahead.
yeah, I just think this is all evidence that her ability to judge what a reasonable person should do in a situation is just completely blown. I don't know where that her meter in her mind that, most everybody that is walking the face of this planet has, that tells you when you should stop doing something, that tells you what is a desirable behavior, what is not. That is just, her gasket is gone at this point. She has no
Yeah,
ability to self correct. And
exactly.
if she can't self correct her, if she can't back herself off these behaviors that are hurting people, it doesn't matter at that point if they're your clients or not. You cannot be you cannot be trusted to make any other sort of rational, reasonable decision in the therapeutic context. I think
And
that's
ethical
unethical.
decisions too. Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. So I want to, for the sake of time, I want to
yeah,
talk to you a little bit about um, some of your other experiences with her. I know that there
absolutely.
was another experience that you had. Let's talk about that. I'm gonna
Okay, are you gonna bring
remove
something
this.
up or?
No, I'm just gonna remove this. Did you want me
Okay.
to keep going with this one?
No, 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 no. I'm just what else have I? I forget. What's the
So,
other?
in regards to what she said about you and a relationship
Oh
that you had.
yes. Okay. Right, right, right. How did I forget? Okay. So Anti has quite often said that there are a lot of people in this sector who have done criminal atrocities. If they're regulated, they've broken their rules of that govern their profession, or otherwise, just been evil, louse, demon, green eye, Jezebel, snakes, roaches, whatever. And I think at one point she called us uh, Spawn of the Devil. And she meant that too. She said she meant that she's 100% correct, convinced that there are people in the sector who are literally Spawn of the Devil.
Mhm.
So there's that. That's comforting to know that there's a therapist in California who thinks that there are people who are literally Spawn of the Devil. But so one of the reasons she says this often about people in this sector is because they're quote unquote homophobic and want to enforce heteronormative rules, right? Um, there's been quite a few times she's called me a he, and there have been and at the same time saying that people shouldn't misgender Gerald Palmer. She's called me a he. She's also put things in videos about how she's not scared of a lawyer who is really a woman but dresses like a man. So she's really kind of confused on what it means to not be anti-transphobic. Or I hate transphobic, but you're definitely not anti-trans at this point. You're making like comments on my gender expression. That is that's also, would consider an attack on the LGBT community. Um,
Absolutely.
so her hands are not clean in this. But
Yeah.
the real bad, the real telling thing that she's done that I think really just exposes her as being actually anti-LGBT, is that I think I sent you this, but the actual her her comments on this video were actually on her community wall, and she erased it. But she played a video. It's still up. It's not her video. Uh, there could be probably a copyright strike on that would stick. But she pulled a video off a website that was a lawyer website for gay lawyers. And a lot of us had made videos about what it was like to practice in a legal profession that's overwhelmingly historically has not been gay friendly. And coming out both your personal life and as a lawyer, like navigating that. And I told a story about how I was not quote unquote out in high school. I think everyone had their suspicions, but I was not out. And a young lady and I that is she's married to a man now, so I don't know what was going on with her at the time, but we had a little bit of a relationship, and the I think in an effort to convince herself that she never had any feelings for me, and sort of straighten out that issue in her mind of her orientation, she told everyone that I had forced her to do physical sexual acts with me, and that she didn't have a choice, and that she was not willing, and she's not gay. And that's how she would finish that every time she talked to somebody about it. She'd say, "I'm not gay."
Mm-hmm.
So nobody at my high school bought this. Um, they all said, "Look, we saw y'all hanging out. You know, y'all were a thing. You were absolutely crazy about Stefanie." And so the story died. The school, the dean of students did pull me aside and tell me if he ever found out for sure I was gay. It was like he wanted it to be like don't ask, don't tell kind of situation, because it was a boarding school in Oklahoma. He said, I don't think the board of trustees would like it if we had a lesbian in the school. So don't ever tell me you're gay, and you'll get to stay at the school.
Oh
That was
wow,
nice of him. But
that's crazy.
so I told this story on this video that's on this website now. And I pulled it and put it on her website, or put it on her channel. I'm sorry. That's a hard story to tell, so I'm a little
Yeah,
rattled. But
that's okay.
she put it on
Take
her
your
YouTube channel, and it's still there. But earlier this year, she posted it on her wall, and her comments were, "I believe this girl was telling the truth, because this is the kind of person that would do something like this to a woman."
oh my goodness. So she accused you of something that was never even established as a fact,
Not at
and
all. And
then
I didn't do,
that
me
you
and
never
me and
did, right?
me and that young lady, we was crazy about each other. I mean, that's how it was. I didn't have to force her to do anything. Trust and believe. I've never had to. I've never done that.
Right.
But yeah, she basically, you know, she repeated a stereotype that we've always dealt with in the LGBT community. That we would try to force people to be gay. That we were predators. That we would uh, take advantage. There's all. This was back in the '90s, so the lesbians are gonna. It's very similar to what people say about trans women now. Like,
Mhm.
I would be told, like, I didn't, lesbians shouldn't be in the same locker room. They're gonna look at us. I don't want a lesbian to see I'm naked. You know, um, things like that. And so, we've always dealt with these stereotypes and these sort of these notions that we want other people to be gay. Like, we want to force people to be gay. That we're gonna prey on you. We're gonna prey on children. And we've done a lot to try to correct that, because it's just not true.
Right.
Just because I'm attracted to women doesn't mean I'm attracted to child or girls too. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Just like any
Absolutely.
man who's attracted to a woman. Men who are attracted to women are not attracted to children. Except for a small minority, right? Like, the overwhelming
Right.
majority of straight men like other adult women. That's exactly how
Right.
we are.
Yeah.
but and and I've never had to force anyone to be gay. I've never had to do that. There's plenty of us out here, and I think she just wanted to cause me. She does this to basically just try to make people stressed about things, to try to just get into people's minds. And it's just a mental game. It really is. It's just a mental game that she's playing with people. Um,
She definitely loves to play mental and mind games with people and put jackets and on people that don't exist. I've been
yeah,
called a
and
prostitute by her more times than I even want to imagine, right? But she definitely has, slandered me too. So I completely
exactly.
understand, yeah, what you mean
And
by, her just making up stories. But go ahead. I'm
and
sorry.
no, it's yeah. I just think it's really wild and really again, uh, either she's deliberately doing this to me while saying Carrie is doing it to other people. That's false, right?
Hmm.
So she's telling a lie, while at the same time she's perpetrating a lie on me as well that she says Carrie's doing it. So it's a double lie, right?
Hmm.
And so it's if she's doing that on purpose, there's obviously some issues here. If she's can't tell the difference between a truth and a lie anymore, there's obviously also some issues. So either way, she is I mean, I think she's a danger to society, much less in her profession. But overwhelmingly, it's like there's all this evidence to show that she absolutely does not belong in her profession. But she's the one who is building all these attacks on ours, based on nothing to the extent that she has demonstrated out here.
And the funny part about what you're saying is, we've journalized this here. We've journalized this on KKC's channel, and you know, she never journalizes anything. She doesn't
No,
have any established evidence of any of these things that she claims about people, any of these slanderous, remarks or anything that she says. She just says things, right, and
right,
expects you to just believe her, expects you to blindly follow whatever she said. And if
right,
you don't, she's going to drag you the same way. She's going to start dragging your family. She's going to start contacting your family members, right? She's going to send her friends to contact your family members, right? All of this for what? I'm not sure what they're supposed to say to your family members, but this is the kind of stuff that she does. And she has a history and a pattern of doing these things. What I'll do is I'll get those videos and I will pull the timestamps, or you can pull them, or whatever, and we'll put that on the Thursday show, which will be the
cool,
final receipt show, to make sure that we have established what she actually said. So I'll make sure that I put that video and what she said about that, you know what I mean, into the
yeah,
actual evidence. Okay.
cool.
Um, did you have any final words about that? Because I'm going to move on to this last part of our video.
Well, I do just want to say that I think the things she said about me, about that I'm a racist, all these allusions to horrific things that I I don't even find it that a person of relative decency would even say those kind of words in public, much less make a joke out of them, to stir up trouble on a YouTube sector. But I do think that, like, not only is she attacking me, but this is like this is buckshot psychological warfare. It's just widespread. It's not really generalized to any person in particular, much less me. Um, she's doing this basically to denigrate. And I think the ultimate goal is not even me. It's to denigrate and dehumanize people that I associate with in this sector. Is
Mhm.
she's saying horrible things about black people in general, about she's making light of a horrific crime, right? And to do what? To make y'all second guess, like, allowing me to be here in the sector, to make y'all second guess about talking to me. I mean, this really is like it's an attack more on y'all than it is on me, I think.
Right.
Especially on transcript. It's
Mhm.
basically, saying like it's y'all are willingly, reverting to this historic atrocity. That is a real atrocity, to this historic atrocity. That and that's just it's. it blows my mind that she would even sink that low. But again, I don't think I should ever be surprised by anything she does. So yeah, I
Absolutely
don't.
agree. Yeah.
I really think that when she attacks me for being a racist, she's really attacking everyone in the sector that even like speaks to me. Yeah, it really is more about attacking y'all than it is me. Um, because I think that she just wants to wreak havoc. She wants to wreak havoc. She wants to do as much damage as possible. She wants to get into people's heads as much as she possibly can. And I think she also wants to create as much doubt about people as she possibly can. I mean, I think it's obvious. I think most people in this sector, I would hope, and I think it would be true that they would say, like, Anti's full of shit. Like, you would never do that to a woman, right?
All right.
But it's like that one little mustard seed of doubt that she's able to plant, either in the sector or in YouTube as a whole, that maybe Anti is right. Maybe Anti is right. Maybe 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 the colonel did talk to defrauding. Maybe he really did get into trouble. Maybe transcripts really is going to get arrested. I don't know. Maybe Anti said it. Maybe it's true, right? Maybe Stephanie Collins really is a racist. Maybe she does want to like own a plantation or whatever. It's like she's creating this. That's how she destabilizes shit around here. It's not really because anybody really truly like wholeheartedly believes her. It's because she just sort of like comes by and bumps the table real hard and keeps walking. Then it comes by and bumps the table real hard again. Like, dude, like we're just trying to sit here and have a good time. We don't need you trying to knock into the table. She knows she's not going to knock the table over, but she just wants to get in there and and just fuck with us. Like this is her method of doing this.
Not realizing or not understanding because of her, her clouded thinking, that she has now stepped into very, very, very problematic spaces, right? She has now stepped into a question of ethics, right? She stepped into a question of legalities at this point, and her license is in question in regards to, how much of this that she has done. Let's take a look at one final part of this, guys. And I am actually going to present this to you guys because I didn't see this until the other day. And as I watched this video, I looked at it a couple of times and I watched the video and I actually went through it because before I actually play this, I want to establish something in regards to what we're about to talk about. I had done a extensive history on Anti, right? And whether or not, in regards to her civil cases. So I have an old video of that I plan on putting in or playing portions of on Thursday as well. Okay. But what I did was I looked at just the civil. I had no idea how to look for criminal cases or whether or not there's any family or domestic cases with her or anything like that. And it turns out there is. And we're going to go ahead and play this video real quick because I kind of want to show you guys that there was a person about 2 or 3 years ago. Let me just verify that real quick. It's a person, this name Maccabee. This was done 3 years ago, okay? And the person says, so being an objective bystander, it is clear that the entire anti-fraud squad are not able to produce any credible evidence of many slurs and acquisitions they post. We can all play dirty, but let's keep it factual. And there will be no complaints. I did some digging on AAS, and this is what I found, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and full screen that again. And we are going to play his video. It is silent. And again, this is all being done in fair use. Let me play my fair use banner real quick. And then I'm going to play this. And we're going to discuss this for just a few minutes. And I know that my next guest is coming up in just a moment. But I am going to get this started. I think this is important to establish this because this what we're about to look at, guys, very well may give us an understanding of this woman's mind, okay, and why her mind is so horrible and so gone, right? And how far off her mind is, okay? This very well may give us an understanding of why this is. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick. Now let's notice how this person is, looking into online searches, and this is in San Diego. They're going to search her by name and the type of case. Okay, now keep in mind, mine was only by civil cases. Notice they're putting in her last name, and now they're putting in her first name, and they're clicking submit. Some of these cases are not her. Let me stop this real quick because I kind of want to stop and show you guys. He's actually going to highlight the cases that are her. And then I actually found a couple of other cases. One of them being that Aurelio Rodriguez case between her and Aurelio Rodriguez. And I did go over that case, and I actually went over the paperwork. So I will show that at another time. But Aurelio was basically suing a company called Harmonium that Anti-Afro used to work for, okay? He sued Harmonium, and he sued Andrea Stewart, and another guy who was Andrea Stewart's supervisor, because Andrea was allegedly race attacking him all the time, okay? She was making all kinds of racist statements, all kinds of racial slurs, all kinds of things were going out towards this man, and he was asking her to stop. He asked her supervisor to stop her, and neither one of them made any moves about it, and so then he went after the company, okay? Now, we'll talk about that at another time, but I want you guys to see some other things in this video. We're only 33 seconds in. Now, he's showing you at the bottom there where Wells Fargo, Arthur Tandy, Daniel Sandoval, these are all civil cases that Andrea Michelle Stewart has been involved in there in California. Now he's going to look at criminal cases. Let's see if she has any criminal cases. Now, keep in mind, this is in fact her date of birth, October 8th, 1963. I want you guys to keep the 1963 in your mind. No criminal cases. Okay? Now, there is some criminal case there. Same year, 1963, okay? This is in East County, and her name is Andrea Michelle Stewart, and it has the same date of birth. So there is a criminal case against Andrea. I am looking to possibly pull that and get that information, okay, and add that to the docket. Since she always likes to talk about everybody being criminals, yet it looks like she has a criminal case. Now, this one right here, guys, is the most interesting part of this. And I am going to pull this myself while we're here on live so we can take a look at this. She's on domestic cases now. Now, notice this James Brown opposing party with Andrea Stewart in a domestic case on December 13th of 2004. There's another one of Andrea Stewart and Brian Stewart in another domestic case, but that's in North County. That's not in the same area, okay? So I don't believe that that person is her. But this other person, Andrea Stewart, with James Brown, is in San Diego County. That has a case number of D487748. Let's see if he pulls it up, because if he doesn't, I will. Oh, he does. Take a look at what this says. This is to establish parental relationship. And it's funny because when I looked at this today, it's now saying this is confidential, okay? At the time, obviously, when this person pulled this, these were still not in confidential status. Apparently, Anti must have found this out and went to the court and requested this to be sealed, okay? Now, let's talk about this real quick. James Brown, and keep in mind, I know you guys see the P right there. That is not his middle initial. This is the primary person as the plaintiff. She is the primary defendant, okay? This is what the P means under primary. So this is not their middle initial, okay? This is to establish a parental relationship. This person is the plaintiff, establishing a parental relationship with Andrea Stewart. So, is it possible that Andrea has has a child out here that she hasn't been taken care of and hasn't been in their life? And then back in 2004, almost 20 years ago now, this person had to go to the court to establish a paternal relationship. I found that very, very, very strange. And I know you did too, Steph. Did you want to talk about this or at least put
Yeah.
your...
It is not at all typical that the mother needs to be the subject of a parental establishment case because we usually know who the mother is, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of obvious, at the time of the birth, who the mother is. They usually get listed on the birth certificate, that kind of thing. It's usually not the issue. It's usually establishing the relationship with the father, right? So something happened. If this,
Something happened here.
and again, we don't know what happened with this. We don't know the outcome. All we can say is that this suit exists, and that's strange. It doesn't jive with normal cases of parental establishment. I don't think I've ever seen one involving a mother.
I haven't either. But I would like to talk about the time frame that she was born in. I'd like to talk about her family a little bit, right? The missionary Baptist family that she was raised in, how stern her father was, that they kind of had this mindset of keeping their family on the straight and narrow, not having any kind of reputation,
Exactly.
If I would say. And certainly she lives by those kind of codes, nowadays, right? Like kind of, how dare you behave this kind of way?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to act like this and act like that. She plays these mind games with people, with their behavior and how their behavior is, is pointing out what their reputation will be, right?
Yep.
How she constantly wants to make out herself and the AFWs as these upstanding, wonderful people, even though they might be doing the most vile things behind the scenes. But to the public, they want to appear as if, they're perfect individuals, right? That they've never done anything wrong, that they don't have any criminal history, that that they're not doing these things that those demons over there are doing, right?
Right.
Where does she kind of get that from? Does that come from her childhood, right?
Well,
I mean, and again, this is all speculation. I want to make that very clear. This is not something I can really establish unless I somehow was able to get this sealed record, okay? Which obviously I'm not named James Brown and I'm not her, okay? So I wouldn't be able to legally get a copy of this sealed record, okay? But let's talk a little bit about, and I want to share this screen real quick. Because what I did was, after I found that, right, I found that to be really, 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 really weird, okay, that a woman who has a child, even if she abandoned the child, right, even if she gave the child up for adoption, right, there would still be an establishment of who that child's mother is, right? But usually in these cases, this would be a thing, right? Now, what I did was I looked up whether or not anybody would ever be born without a birth certificate. You know what I mean? That generally would be how you would establish the maternity of a child, right? That mother, they give you this while you're in the hospital.
Right.
They give you this, and then the father would have an opportunity to sign the birth certificate at the hospital as well, right? Or sign the paperwork for the birth certificate at the hospital as well. And if he doesn't, that could be signed later.
Right.
But the mother is done. But the mother is done right then and there. That's something that's recorded while she's giving birth to this child, right? Unless this person gave birth, which has happened many times over. unless this person gave birth at home, okay, like there was a hidden pregnancy, which used to happen a lot in the
A
60s,
lot.
70s, those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things would happen where people were hiding pregnancies. They did this in the 50s and stuff like this. If a teenage girl got pregnant, they generally wouldn't tell the public about this. And then they would have the child, and then somebody in the family would assume that child is
Yep.
theirs, and then they would also say, hey, I gave birth to this child.
Mm.
This was well before, there were certain laws that were in place, that are in place now, you know what I mean, that
Right.
would establish immediately who gave birth to this baby, you know what I mean, and that kind of stuff. This was before DNA testing, before any of that stuff was even a thing. Okay.
Right. And
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I think a lot of families have something like this where there's a secret. And this is my inventory of my own family. My dad has a cousin that was raised as his cousin, a woman who was raised as his cousin, who
Mhm.
is really likely his half sister. Um, but my grandmother had children before she met my granddad and had the children that they have together. We never knew, like, the family doesn't know who the father of these children were or even the circumstances. We don't think they were very good, and so we think that probably she gave one of her kids to her brother. It was just like, you know I can't right now. And instead of saying like, well, we're raising one of her kids, it was just like, yeah, this is our kid, and that just became a family secret. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of families have that, especially
I
if it's
think
a
so
young
too.
person,
Mhm.
you get, it becomes, your big sister is the mother. You're really the mother, but your big sister raises the kid and tells the whole family says that that's her mother, right? Or your aunt or whatever. And so, that's how a lot of teenage pregnancies were explained. There's a baby all of a sudden. You couldn't say that your 14-year-old daughter just gave birth to that baby, so you say like her 20-year-old sister had a baby. Look at there. And your own daughter gets raised as your niece. Yeah, that happens a lot. Um, and so, and another thing I was thinking, she's always said she was raised missionary Baptist. I know in Oklahoma in the 90s, there was a place that was the place of nightmares. We all sort of said it like it was the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And that was called the Oklahoma Baptist Home for Unwed Mothers. And
Mhm.
I mean, it was a fate worse than death. Like, nobody wanted to go to the home for unwed mothers. This was a place where if you were an unwed mother, typically a teenager, and you were, had sinned and, fornicated and all that, you got pregnant. If you were unlucky enough, your parents, wanted to, make sure that you learned, you repented properly and you were never going to do this again until you were married. And you also had to have a plan for the child. They would send them to this home for unwed mothers. Unfortunately, Oklahoma still has that. I think there's quite a bit fewer ones, but these used to be a real thing in the 60s, in the 50s, and the 60s, and the 70s. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of women who were forced to go to a lot of religious families forced their daughters to go to these places. And they were intentionally not documenting these births very well, or forging paperwork to say like this woman, this child never gave birth to this child, this was actually somebody else's kid. And in
Mhm.
that case, that's not an appropriate adoption, that's not a legal adoption. So your rights as that mother to that child have not been terminated, so you really are legally still the mother. But what had happened was an illegal adoption essentially had taken place.
Mhm. Mhm. So, and it again, like I said, I can't establish this as a fact. I want to make that very clear, right? It is just extremely strange that a man would be taking her to court to establish a paternal relationship, a parental relationship. I'm sorry, not paternal, parental relationship with this person, because that's what it says. Establish parental relationship with her in San Diego. And like I said, I would love to pull that record, but it's now sealed. If I had been the one to do this back then, I would have clicked on that file location, and
Mm-hmm.
more than likely, I would have been able to pull it online, or I would have been able to request it in writing, and then I would have been able to show it. But now that
And it
it
would have
has
been a
been
public
court,
document. It would have been a public
it would have
document, so
been a
you could have
public
emailed
document.
it to everyone. You could have told
Exactly.
everybody about it. And, if it had been a clerical error that it should have been sealed and it wasn't, but you got a hold of it anyway, well, it was a public record. Oh, sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I guess that's the way we do things around here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But either way, that is really interesting, right? Because if this is really a fact, right? If this is really a thing that she has a son, right, that she gave birth to at a very young age, and that child was raised by someone else, and then ended up telling him later after he was an adult that this is really his mother. And say, for instance, we don't know, there could be many reasons for why she didn't raise that child, right? It could be she was a victim of some type of, sexual abuse. It could have been she was a victim of anything, right? The way that she projects things onto other people, and then turns out this is her actual truth. I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that happened. And then she gave birth and everyone was aware of it. And then they decided to go on and, give that to someone else, right? Decide to give the baby to somebody else to raise. And then the child was raised and then they were, told later on who their real mother is. And then they wanted to find her and she refused to take a DNA test. And so now they're like, yeah, we're going to establish this parental relationship. I'm wondering if that is the truth, right? And if that is the case, does that explain her mentality these days? Does that explain why she is so diabolical? You know what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
why she has all these obvious mental health issues, you know what I mean? That she never obviously got help for, or that, she never really got to the bottom of these issues because these things, are real ghosts from her past.
yeah,
That's a sad thing if that's the
it
case.
is.
That
And,
really is. But it
it's
also
almost,
establishes her and it establishes why she treats certain people a certain way.
yep.
Like breaking the culture, for instance,
Mhm.
somebody who we know has definitely abandoned at least two of her children, but yet she puts the person like this on a pedestal or makes excuses or lies for them and says, no, that's not true, knowing it's true, right? Like you were talking about, we were talking about earlier, if you want to just touch on that, like how she treats Stargate and stuff.
Yeah, I think about the women she bigs up and tells them how they've been victims, but they're really the good guys. They have complex backgrounds with marriage, with their relationships with men and their children, right? They haven't had stability in their homes, both Stargate and Breaking. And that's not a comment on anything they've done, it's just a fact, right? And so AAS, like, as much as she dogs out everybody else for being immoral, those are the two women who, like, by traditional standards, might be called that. But those are the
Mhm.
ones that she's not saying that about, right? And so I just think that there's something going on here. Like,
I really do
it's
too.
and I just wonder, because like I said yesterday, I am the AAS whisperer, right? So from what I could decipher, she did grow up in a very, very strict home. Her dad was in the military. I think she was the only girl. I'm not sure about that, but I know she talks about her brothers quite a bit. And she absolutely holds
She
her
has no other
father on this
sisters, though.
pedestal.
She has other sisters.
Okay,
Um, yeah, but some of them
okay.
have the father's last name or other mothers because he had other kids. He had other
Oh, he
wives.
did.
He had other women other than Miss Shirley.
Oh,
Shirley Stewart. Yeah,
oh,
Shirley and Morris were never married.
oh,
Morris Lindsay was never married to Shirley Stewart. That's
oh,
why most of the kids do not have his last name, including
oh. Well, that
Andrew.
complicates things quite a bit, in my estimation.
Hmm.
Oh my, I did not know that. That
Yeah, they
that
were
throws
never
a
married.
whole wrench into it.
Right.
Um, it doesn't actually change what I think. It's like I wow, that makes
Yeah.
it even more like deep on a deeper
I
like
can prove
pitted.
that. Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you guys how I know that. Let me you can go ahead and keep talking if you want to. I'm just gonna pull it
Well,
up.
I know that. I mean, even regardless, maybe she's not telling the truth about her upbringing. Maybe she's not telling the truth about how strict and how like, you know, how she definitely has portrayed her father in her videos as the greatest protector she's ever had. She keeps him on a pedestal, and she talks about how he was like the most outstanding soldier that ever served in the United States Armed Forces. That's for sure. Like we definitely know that from her videos. And you know, they according to her were not allowed to do a lot of they were not allowed to act out the way that other kids their age did. They were not to be caught with kids who acted out. They were not to be caught at places where kids acted out. They definitely experienced physical punishment, physical discipline. But yet, like you could tell when she talks about her father that she adores him. Like that's the only man that I could tell she's ever really loved, right? Um, and
Yeah.
if she was to have experienced this as a girl, you know, uh before she was traditionally have left her father's household, it would like would have been thought to be shameful and have brought a lot of shame on her family and on her father. If like her father had like, you know, disciplined her for this or even rejected her for this, I could see that being like a classic villain origin story, right? Like classic. Like,
Mhm.
you know, and that could be why she attacks women who have not had that story. Is, you know, maybe she feels like she did not get the opportunities that she wanted because of this uh experience. She didn't get, you know, it ruined her relationship with her father. Um, you know, she never felt like she could have another relationship with a man. I mean, this is all speculation, but again, you
Right.
know, we definitely see these
It
things
makes
in
sense.
her,
Yeah.
and so it would
Hmm.
make sense that there was something that happened that just really changed the course of her life, and this could be that.
Yes. It could be this. And I just wanted to show this page. This is Morris L. Stewart, or Morris Lindsay Stewart. This is her brother who passed away back in 2009. And this is the obituary for him that I showed a few months ago when I was talking about anti, and how when she was saying that if something's online, you know, while she was showing Dr. Nikki's father's obituary and my grandfather and all these other dead people, you know, we decided to show her brother. And, you know, in here, it talks extensively about her family and about the many different names of different people who are brothers and sisters, but yet they have different last names. Okay. The father's name is Lindsay, okay, which is Morris Lindsay Sr. And then the mother's name, and I'll just go ahead and just, you know, show you guys here where I'm talking about. This is Morris Lindsay, and Shirley Stewart. Okay, so they have very different last names. Okay, and they weren't married, and they had multiple children. But he had other children with other women as well. So I just wanted to make that clear
Well,
in regards to
hang on, I got
that.
a question. I got a question. I think we might be
Mhm.
missing something here. Um, Scroll up to where the obituary starts.
Oh, shoot, I took it off. I'll go back to it. Okay.
Okay,
You said scroll up.
yeah,
Hold on. Let me go back to it.
to just like the opening paragraph.
Okay.
Okay. So it does say Morris Stewart, right?
Morris L. Stewart.
Okay.
But
And then
obituary Morris Lindsay Stewart Jr.
yeah. So I think because a lot of times they write these obituaries in like a very sort of outdated manner. So like when it says that part about the her parents I'm looking at it.
Preceded him in death.
Yeah.
Parents preceded him in death. The Stewart family
So
moved to
yeah,
Sacramento in
right.
1967.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
so
where it says
that's him too.
more Morris, Lindsay, and Shirley Stewart. Um, so I think they mean like that's basically another way of saying like Mr. and Mrs. Stewart. You see what I'm saying?
No, his last name is Lindsay. The father's last name is actual Morris. His name is Lindsay.
But at the in the opening paragraph it says, "Is that her brother?"
Yeah, this is her brother.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was misreading that. Okay.
Okay, I see
I'm
what you're
sorry. I
saying.
thought that was her dad. Okay.
No,
Okay. Perfect.
this is the
Yeah,
brother.
okay. Got you. Got you.
Brother
Got you.
was
Got you.
born
Got you.
November 16th, 1955,
Okay.
and he died
Okay.
in
Yeah, I can't.
2009.
I need my readers.
But
Like I'm looking at my phone and it's
okay,
I
I
need to
see.
get it
Okay,
really up
yeah.
close. Yeah. Sorry. I need my reading glasses. Okay. Got you. Got you. I was like, I thought
Okay,
that
so
was the father. It was
okay.
like, wait a second. I think we're just like,
No, this
you
is
know.
this is the this
Okay.
is the brother.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't
Got
have a
you.
copy of the father's.
Yeah.
This
And
is
we're
the
not looking
brother,
for it either
and
necessarily, you
it
know.
says
Yeah.
that his parents preceded him in death.
Oh, wow.
His
Okay.
parents preceded him in death. Lindsay and Shirley Stewart.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
father's name was Morris Lindsay, not Morris Stewart. The mother's name is Shirley Stewart.
I
So
I still think that might be like a weird way that they write these obituaries like it's 1952, you know, and if they're still married, like it would if like my parents died before me, you know, which I think that they probably that's the way they want it. So you know, if they say like Stephanie Collins was preceded in death by, it'll say like, you know, da 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 call da 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 and da 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 Collins. You know, because it'll list my father's name and his middle name, and then my mother's name and her middle name, and then Collins, because they're still married.
well, right,
Does that make
but
sense?
no, say that again.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
I'm lost.
So I don't. Okay, I'm just gonna give my parents like fake names.
In my
But
case, right?
yeah.
In my case, my parents are both remarried. Okay.
Okay.
So if they were to pass away and then I was to pass away, they're not going to give my mother, they're going to give her name. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? They're not going to
So
change her name to my dad's name. You see what I'm saying? They're
yeah.
not going to do
Well, I think like so. Like, let's just say because I don't want to dox my parents. So let's just say my dad's name is Billy Bob, and
that.
my mother's name is Shirley Sue. Okay. So
Mhm.
when if they were like on my obituary, they'll say like Stephanie was preceded in death by Billy Bob and Shirley Sue Collins.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they should have said here. Morris Lindsay. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that his middle name is Lindsay.
Yeah. Because I think the
got
brother's named after him.
Okay, I see what you're
That's
saying.
Junior, I think.
Okay, so we can go with that then. We can go with that. I can go with that. I just know that he had more than one baby mama. Regardless of whether he was married to her or not. I mean, you know, but okay, that I can establish that as a fact, right?
And think about that too. Like whenever she found out that, you know, he'd had another family across town or whatever, like think about how like that probably would have like messed with her mind too. Like you're all mad at me because I was doing this and now I found out you was doing this too. Like, oh, you know, I'm just seeing like Joker origin story like painted all over this, you know, and I mean like this is just this is enough to like give her some real deep seated anger. And I mean at the end of the day, like that's really I think her big problem is she's just angry, like seething with anger, and like we're her targets for that because I don't think she has any other way of handling it. Yeah, and so she's just so angry at us, and it doesn't make any sense why she's so mad at us. You know,
it doesn't, but it establishes sort of an understanding of her mindset, right?
Right.
Like, if she did have a child when she was very, very young with a family like that, right? That was so, you know, that was so religious, you know what I mean? And had that kind of mindset, even with that same mindset that she has to this day, this, you know, be in front of everyone else without blemish, you know what I mean? And you could be doing all this stuff behind, but with in front of everybody else without blemish, right? That was really a thing. Also, Black families, right? Black families did not always have the same affordabilities with hospitals and stuff like this back in the day. So, you know, even though I'm not saying that Black people didn't have babies at the hospital, right? Of course they did. But I'm talking about like, you know, there could have been so many different secrets for why, you know, and I'm just speculating, right?
Yeah.
There could have been so many different secrets that could have happened that could have gotten her pregnant to begin with, right? It could have been something that happened from a child. It could, from a family member, right? It could have been something incestual. It could have been rape, right? It could have been anything,
Right.
that happened. And with this, this now has established in about almost 20 years ago now, a person that's coming forward and requesting to establish a parental relationship with her. So does Anti have a son that she's never taken care of and had maybe possible very good reason to abandon, right? And not that anything would be a good reason, but let's think about this because, clearly she would have been a child if she gave birth to this child, right?
Maybe she didn't have a choice. Maybe she really did want to raise him.
Right. That could have been another thing, right? Where, the family took the child from her, right? And established this child with someone else. This person raised the child. And then years later, this child started asking questions.
Yeah.
And now they're getting answers or on that person's deathbed, right? But these people these are older people. Andrea's, 61?
Mm-hmm.
She was 60, 61?
Yeah.
I think she'll be 61 this year or 62 this year. So, these are older people. These are people that would be dead or in their 80s or 90s at best, right, by now.
Yeah.
So it's possible that, these people have died off and they decided to tell him, 20 years ago, this is really your mom, and now, this person is running after her to get a parental relationship established. And she done moved on with her life. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want to bring that memory back, right?
Right.
That may be a very horrible memory, which may explain why she's so diabolical with everyone today.
Yep. Yeah,
now,
exactly.
These are all speculations. I can't say because I can't look into these records. But the establishment of this in the court and the fact that this is public record right here, okay, this is a public record to see this. To have established this as a public record. And again, I'm going to put a link to that place in the chat because I want you guys to go see this for yourself. Hold on 1 second. I don't want you guys to think anybody's making this up. Okay, so I'm going to put this link in the chat. You guys can go to courtindex.sd, court.ca.gov. If you go there, you can follow these instructions, and I'm going to put a link to this video in here as well. So you guys can see the instructions on how to get to this particular record. Okay? So this is the video, and I'm going to play the video one more time, and then we're going to end this. I'm actually going to start the next one, but bear with me just a moment. It gives you full instructions on how to get to these cases. He's going to show you the civil cases first. This is amazing. I think this is one of the biggest bombshells we've got on her, honestly. But it definitely explains her craziness. It does.
Yeah.
It's sad if it's true. I mean, obviously it's true if it's a court record, right?
Well, unless the paternity was not established, we don't know.
Unless the parental was not established, unless it came back, But what would make this person think that was their mom?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that something must have happened. And I wonder if there's, if you grew up knowing, because, I was adopted, right? And so, if I found out somehow, who my actual mother was, I wouldn't necessarily even, because my adoption was proper, her rights were terminated, my mother has full rights, that whole thing. It wasn't clandestine. I wouldn't necessarily want to even find out who she is. So I wonder what was, I'm just curious what happened to make him want to not only find her, but actually like ensure that the whole world knew that this is my mother,
Right.
and
Now,
why she wouldn't necessarily acknowledge it. And that whole thing is just, and from a
it's
legal perspective,
crazy.
it's fascinating.
It is. It is very fascinating. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. And this is another case right here. This one I can't establish is her because of where it is. Again, I can't say it's not, but I can't establish that it is. I would assume that if this person is in North County, that would not be her trying to sue someone. Okay.
Yeah.
But that is most definitely because that was her. That person was the plaintiff in that case.
Yeah.
And it also was a dissolution of marriage as well. So I don't know if she was ever married, right? But I could be wrong because again, we never thought she was anybody's mother either, right?
Yeah. I would be more surprised if she'd actually raised a child. I would be concerned also, but yeah, I'd be more surprised if she'd actually raised a child. But I actually, this whole thing, it kind of, I guess, softens me a little bit towards her. It's like I said, she likes to talk about how nothing is an excuse. Nothing is an excuse. Like no mental health condition is ever an excuse for your behavior. No, no history, no trauma, no nothing is ever an excuse for anything you do, right? It's all you. But I think reasonable people know that everybody does something or has like a pattern or engages in certain activities or behaviors based on other things that have happened in life. We all have a reason for the things we do. And I think this makes a lot of sense. And I just feel like maybe she's been trying to make it up to somebody that she failed, but she's going to make sure nobody else fails. Or if they do fail, they're going to get punished just like she did. I don't know, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, like I said, this is her Joker origin story.
Yeah. Any final comments or anything?
No. I mean, like Brixton says in the comments, she's going to be fuming. Miss Perfect is getting unraveled.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
And again, I want to establish that I am not establishing this story with the child as a total fact, right? Because I don't know. All I know is that the record is there. Okay, the record is there. I've given you guys the links to it. I will put I put the links in the chat already. I gave you guys the YouTube channel where this is located, where you guys can kind of go through this and figure it out and see for yourself. But yeah, that's the best I can do. I hope that I'll say this: if this is the facts, right? She needs to go and get some help for this. You know what I mean? I mean, this is clearly anybody would be out of their mind, right? If they experience something like that. You know what I mean? And again, like I said, I don't know, right? It could be even worse than that. It could be, not as bad as that, right? I don't know. All I know is that there is an established court record with her attached to it with that information. And, that can't be unseen. So it just is what it is. Does anybody else did you have any other further comments or anything? Because I'll end it here. And I'm going to start up the next show.
I like her. I think when she laughs at our trauma and she laughs at the bad experiences we've had. She implies that either they're not as serious as they really are, and they shouldn't have hurt the people they really did or hurt us as bad as they really did. Or she says that whatever, just pick yourself up and dust yourself off and don't ever do anything wrong again because you don't have an excuse, right? But I think right now we're actually doing the opposite. We're saying, like, as much as she's hurt people, and as much as she has done so much damage to people, and she's attempted to do a lot more damage than she's actually been able to accomplish. We're actually thinking this is actually starting to make sense because people are people. People do things for a reason, and she may actually not be the spawn of Satan that she calls everybody else. she might just be a troubled and damaged woman,
Right.
like so many of us are.
And it's obvious that she is a troubled and damaged woman. We just never saw any angle of where that could possibly be coming from, right?
Right.
Until today. Yeah.
Yeah, and notice neither one of us have said, like, well, that's not an excuse. Whatever happened to you is not an excuse for the way you've done us. Like, because it's not even saying we're saying that it is an excuse, but I
But it
think we're
makes
showing
sense.
her. I think we're honoring her humanity a lot more than she's ever honored ours.
Absolutely. And if this did happen to her, and if this is a thing, I want her to hear from me that I'm sorry that
I am
happened.
sorry too.
I am sorry that happened to you. I don't know what happened, but something happened, Andrea. And, I feel bad for you for that. I don't feel bad for you for not going to get the help that you need, that obviously you need to get help for, because, it is your responsibility. And I say that to anyone who suffers from any kind of mental health challenges, right?
Right.
It's still your responsibility as long as you have a cognitive ability to do so.
Mm-hmm.
It's still your responsibility to do something about it, right? It's not everybody else's responsibility to suffer at your hands. It's
Right.
not. But this is not your space where you can be diabolical and take out this pain on, the people of this space, or any space for that matter.
Any
It's
space.
your
Yeah,
responsibility
exactly.
to do something about this. And that's that.
Right.
I won't continue to poke and prod at this though, but
No,
I do
no.
think that it was important to bring that up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, and
Yeah.
I thought it was very important to bring that up and to allow people to see for themselves, right, what's going on with this situation, and to give us kind of more of a light or more of an understanding of this chick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And why, she may be coming for people the way that she does. And the talking points that she uses as well, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, if we're all clear with this, I'm going to go ahead and end this. I'm going to start the next show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, guys. So
Okay.
that's going to be in about almost an hour. We're going to go ahead and start the next show then. That's when me and my interviewee will be prepared. Okay, we'll be
Cool.
ready. And then that'll also give us time to breathe from this, because this was pretty
Yeah.
heavy. This was heavy.
Yeah, it was.
I wasn't even expecting to talk about that. Like I said, at the last minute, I looked at that video because I was going to talk about Aurelio today, right? I was
Right.
going to talk about the Aurelio Rodriguez case today. But when I looked at that full video and I saw that man pull up this woman's domestic cases, I was shocked at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was shocked beyond shock. And I wanted to share that because I thought it was really important to establish the mindset of this person, and why this person may be so diabolical. I mean, I think we know, and we've already established why some other people, have gone like breaking the culture, and stuff
Mhm.
like that, with some of the things that she experienced in foster care and stuff like this, for why her mindset is the way it is today, right? But we haven't really been able to do that with Anti. We've never really had an answer, a solid answer, right, to
Right.
why she does this stuff, And we always give all these different reasons and stuff like that. But this would make complete sense to it all.
Absolutely.
And that's unfortunate. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much, Stefanie,
Yeah, thank
for
you.
everything that you provided. Your story and everything else. Like I said, I will be adding your receipts to the second receipt show, and I will be doing that on Thursday. I'm probably going to shoot for 7:00 again,
Okay.
7 p.m. Eastern time, to shoot for that and try to get all the receipts out of the way. And that should be the final receipt show there. Okay. And then we'll just wrap up the series at that point. But I am going to go ahead and get out of here for this one. I appreciate all of you for being in the building. Make sure everyone is hitting the like button on the way out. And I will see you guys in about 50 minutes for the next video. Talk to you guys soon. Peace, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.